So our big topic for today is a new report out last month from VALS, which is an independent organization that assesses uses benchmarks to assess the performance of different legal tech tools. And so this was one of the first places I've seen a report really independently evaluate the performance of various platforms that we've all been hearing a lot about.
The first time we've seen it in legal. Interestingly, Ethan Mollick and his colleagues have been doing this with businesses since ChatGPT came out. Businesses are like, yeah, come on in. Let's figure out if we can do things better. And same with medical, right? Like we've talked before about the medical studies where even doctors are like, all right, let's find out. Let's find out if we work with an AI or sub it out to an AI, whether they do better on diagnosis. And they're writing it up, even when it makes them look bad. I'm sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you, but it took us this long, even though.
Why?
Well,
we're special.
We are special.
In what ways?
Special ways.
All the special ways. Yeah. I mean, it's we can't do that because we have privileged information,
or we can't do it. I've heard this a million times. There's nothing to measure because everything is bespoke. Lawyers think every single thing is bespoke, which always makes me think well, what do we teach in law schools? Do we actually can't teach you the law because everything is bespoke. So
the work is mysterious and important.
It is mysterious and important. Yes.
Also, when you're saying bespoke, it's making me think of my first year in law school when a professor kept saying bespoke, and I had no idea what it meant. I thought it had something to do with bikes, like spokes.
It means fancy clothing, I think. That's what that's
bespoke suits. Yeah. I think I also had some classmates with bespoke suits as well, which also confused me and stressed me out.
Yeah.
Because I was going to JCPenney for sure. Where were we? Oh, yeah. Benchmarking.
So VALS. I'm sorry. No. First we've seen in legal, right?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. No. And we were talking before we started recording that I'm sure that the tech companies in legal have been doing this behind the scenes for a long time.
Yeah, for sure.
But no lawyer, in a regular practice context has ever looked at a benchmarking report for legal AI or legal tech. Right. So it's kind of we'll get to this in a minute, but it's kind of interesting that we're all so focused on these benchmarking reports. It's a little bit cracking me up at how we're slicing and dicing them as though this is something we regularly do. Nobody looked at Lexis printouts and assessed them as a lawyer. So anyway,
no one compared the Westlaw key sites to the other key sites.
Could you imagine?
Are these keys?
Here's your Westlaw case. Here's your Lexis case. Yeah. This one has 72.3% accurate, and that one's 72.4%, and everybody freaks out.
Right.
That never happened before.
Nope.
Nobody ever did it. They just accepted it.
Yeah.
So the report really measured the performance of 4 different platforms: Harvey Assistant from Harvey, Co-Counsel from Thomson Reuters, Vincent AI from VLEX, and Oliver from VecFlow. Lexis Plus AI was an original participant, but withdrew from the tasks. So they worked with, the researchers worked with several law firms, Reed Smith, Fisher Phillips, McDermott, Will and Emery, and Ogletree Deakins to develop some tasks for the AI to be tested on. And all of the AI platforms performed these different legal tasks, and then they were measured on different criteria, including data extraction, document Q&A. Oh, these were the tasks: document summarization, redlining, transcript analysis, chronology generation, and Edgar research. And then they were assessed on their accuracy at performing those different tasks. And then there was also this other category of human lawyer baseline. So VALS partnered with an organization, an ALSP, alternative legal service provider, Cognia Law, to source independent lawyers to also do these tasks and be measured as a benchmark group. And
that's kind of the super interesting thing about it, right? I mean, I'm really grateful that they did do that. Otherwise, just comparing them against each other and not against the human lawyers is sort of not that interesting.
No.
But
I almost don't care about the AI benchmarks as much. To me, the big takeaway were the lawyer baselines.
Same. Yeah.
So what did they find, Bridget? What are the different performance metrics across the AIs and the lawyer baseline?
So, I mean, we can talk in detail about how each of the legal AI tools performed across those different tasks. But the truth is, they all performed pretty well. And I think the most interesting finding is they performed slightly better than the human lawyers in most of the not all, but most of the categories, which didn't really surprise me because I am a human lawyer and I use these tools. And I am not at all surprised that the tools were able to perform better than the human in many of these. And the ones that it didn't also didn't surprise me. I mean, there were a couple of places where a human lawyer still outperformed the tools, like reviewing a contract and like redlining it. And I think my guess is that's probably because the human has a better understanding of like what exactly you're redlining for. Mm-hmm. So I mean, my first reaction was like, I bet you could train that tool to do better and better and better. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, the tool is not going to be hungry. It's not going to have the like biases that humans just have that we bring to the table when we do a task. And I don't know, not going to be tired and like all of the things that like you can't get out of humans. Like the humans just have those problems, or benefit, whatever you want to think about them. But that was I think the big takeaway was, we have to now start talking about as opposed to what, as Andy Perlman puts it, right? Mm-hmm. Like Andy Perlman always says, like, as opposed to what? Mm-hmm. As opposed, what do we have right now when you're comparing these tools? I don't know, were there other specific performance metrics that you thought were worth mentioning or important takeaways?
I mean, like you said, you could drill down into any one of these and say Harvey had 75.1% of data extraction and co-counsel had 73.2%.
They're both good at that.
Yeah, they're both very good at that.
Yeah.
To me, the big screaming headline is lawyers are not perfect.
Yeah.
And
that's a surprise.
I know. Mm-hmm. Who's going to tell them? I don't want to be the one because based on the conversations I've had over the last 2 years, this is going to come as a huge surprise. Like, this is the assumption of every conversation I've been in. We cannot trust these tools. We are alone the ones who are perfect and unflawed. Yeah. And already less than 3 years into this era, just around 3 years into this era, like we're basically on par with these tools. And like you said, in a couple of these cases, probably if you programmed them better, they would perform exactly where we are.
Yeah.
And they're going to get better.
Yes.
We're not. Like, as a species.
Well, I am.
You're going to get better.
No, I'm not.
But
really.
The species, probably not.
No.
At least not before I retire, I would imagine. So to me, that was just like the big, huge takeaway and the most useful piece of data that I'm including in every presentation I do now of like, guys, we are very, very flawed and imperfect.
Yeah.
And they're getting better and they're pretty much where we are.
Yeah.
There were a couple limitations in the study that they struggle with complex legal judgment. Like you said, the redlining and the contract modifications might require human nuance or they might require some programming.
Fine-tuning.
Yeah. Hallucinations were still a challenge in some cases with some tools. And the performance depended on document type. It worked best for structured text-based legal tasks instead of broad open-ended legal research, which kind of surprised me.
I think that's more about the particular tasks that were measured. Mm-hmm. I think I really appreciate that we have this research. So no criticism, but as you know, that one of the things lawyers need to do is sometimes think of creative solutions to problems. And that's hard to measure across, like in a test like this, where you're literally giving someone 75% or 78%. Because I don't know how you, like, it's such a subjective thing. But that's one of the places where the tools really, excel.
Yeah.
And we already know excel beyond humans already. Right. So.
And then after the report came out, there was a whole bunch of social media commentary. One of my favorites is from one of my favorite thinkers anyway, Jason Barnwell, who's in the general counsel's office at Microsoft. And he had a few takeaways that align with some of what we're saying. Like, flawed, and I'm going to quote his post here. Flawed premises we are too comfortable with include the following. That was not part of the quote. Presuming human work is always flawless. This is my favorite part for law firm lawyers, and they should listen up about this. Presuming accuracy and precision should not be considered with speed and cost in evaluating value.
Yep.
So in other words, like, it would be great to have this 100% accurate, but I don't want a lawyer spending 20 hours on it. I'll take 95% accuracy and get it in 5 minutes. I would prefer that.
Yep.
And presuming our choices are human intelligence or machine intelligence.
Yeah. Like we aren't always using both, right? I
right.
mean, yeah.
Yeah. And that's why, I mean, one of the other questions I had after the report came out is, for how long will we be in this era of even benchmarking these things at all? Like, I feel like pretty soon it's going to feel a little silly and beside the point. Right?
It's funny. I mean, it does feel like it matters a whole lot right now. And at least like for us at the AAA, when we're building point solutions or more AI native, processes, we feel like it's really, really important to stakeholders to show them the accuracy levels. So we have, as you know, like pretty sophisticated governance, like principles and practices. And we feel like we have to measure and make it transparent, because that's the way you bring people along. But I was talking to a investor recently here at LegalWeek actually, and he was saying like when they're trying to like sell a business, he like buys and sells businesses, and he's trying to sell a business, and there's like some dispute holding up their measurement of like what the business is worth, and it's going to take 2 years to resolve it, or worse, 6 years if it's in court and not arbitration. He's like, I don't really even care. Tell us tell us we owe this amount or that amount. We don't care. We just need a number and we need it resolved so we can like move on with the transaction. And I was like, oh God, you don't care? Like if we get it, don't you want us to get it right? Don't you want us to get like the actual, like what the value of the dispute is, right? And he's like, no, I want you to get it done. And I was like, oh boy. Do I have to like rethink what that means? I still think it's important for the legal community and it's important for us at the AAA because we're a nonprofit and we like want to do this like really well. But it's a pretty interesting perspective that's not everyone involved with lawyers has the same values, the same things the same way, right?
Yeah, that's like another one for our What is the Point segment.
What is the point?
And I probably have told you this story before, but I remember early on in the AI era talking to this lawyer who was talking about how his clients hire him because he has an edge to his writing.
Oh.
And I was thinking, like, do you think that's why your clients hire you for your edgy writing? Like, they can go to the airport bookstore and get like some Stephen King if they want some edgy writing. I think they probably hire you to solve, like, they don't want to hire you.
Yeah.
They want to be moving on with their businesses and their lives. Like
they would like to never hire you again.
Yeah. But it so much of it is just like this fundamental beginning premise that lawyers are like the most important part of every pursuit involving the law. When really, like, a lot of times we're the irritant involved because of that framing. And we could be the facilitator of a lot of really cool stuff. But that makes total sense to me why at this point in the development the benchmarking is really important to show that you're doing it the right way. But I wonder 5 years from now if it's just...
I think it matters while we're in the horseless carriage shaped like a horse phase. And then when we can just like build the carriage that looks like a carriage and not like a horse, then maybe, people will have moved on a little bit.
They need like those training wheels now for a little while. And something in me really believes that once these benchmarking assessments are all clearly superior to human lawyers,
then people they won't think they're important anymore.
We'll use the AI for some things. My other favorite part of this study was this one graph on accuracy versus response length in a document extraction exercise.
I mean, honestly, that graph should like be this. We should have that graph in our slides. Like
it should be like the logo for our podcast.
Yes.
It's
going to be, I'm going to have to take a snapshot, but it's going to be a meme that I will just send you once in a while, I think.
Please do. Anytime you get a really long message from a lawyer, send me this chart, which shows that the AI are essentially on par with us in terms of accuracy by and large, but the response length for the AI was around like the 2,000 to 3,000 character limit, and the response length for lawyers was almost 16,000 characters. So we're saying the same thing with 8 times as many characters. We're so precious. We are very special.
It's really hard to say things with fewer words. Like, it takes a lot more work, Like, the only thing I like better than a 2-word sentence is a 1-word sentence.
Ooh, you're making me think of Severance again when Mr. Milchick had to
grow. Yes.
Sorry. Hopefully everybody who listens to this watches Severance.
They will have to.
It's going to totally
You'll
go
have to
over
catch
everyone's
up.
head.
Yeah.
Don't worry. You won't understand it even if you watch it.
Yeah,
so
good point.
You're not any further behind. Well, I thought it was, a super interesting study, but really like my big takeaway was it says more about the humans than it does, or as much about the humans as it does about the AI.
Which maybe was the point. I don't know, but it's certainly a very valuable takeaway. So I'm very grateful for us having it.
Same. And you are the one who is always saying that for, I'm paraphrasing you, so correct me, like for a profession that's really focused on evidence and proof.
Oh, yeah.
We do not actually study most of what we do and whether it's effective.
We don't seem to care about like measuring our own effectiveness. Yeah.
Because we're very special.
Yeah.
All right. Well, really interesting research. We'll keep sharing reports that are coming out. I used to lament that there was going to be a day when we'd have like this whole architecture of reports and case law. And because the first time we taught our class together, there was like nothing. It really was the Wild Wild West. And we could just use podcasts and all this stuff. And I knew a day was coming where it would become more rigorous. But actually, it's really fun now that it is.
Yeah.
Because you get to actually support a lot of the things that you feel on a gut level with data.
Yeah.
And the data really are on the AI side.
So far, yeah.
Thank you for tuning in to 2030 Vision, AI and the Future of Law. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to our podcast and leave a review. Stay informed and inspired as we continue to explore the AI-driven future of the legal profession. We'll see you next time.